Sweet Kentucky Fried Fuck. What the absolute hell did I just fucking listen to? Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Metal Meltdown. Today, we are talking about, quite possibly, the weirdest album I have heard so far in 2022, and one of the weirdest albums I may ever hear ever? Not so much because it's like really wacky and over the top, or it's got like some kind of crazy concept, or it's doing some weird Diablo swing orchestra or psi level avant-garde fusion metal nonsense. I mean, it is, but not to that extent. More so because I never thought I would hear something like this ever in my entire life. Like at all. Alright, so Bloodywood is a band from New Delhi, India. They were formed in 2016. They were originally more of a parody kind of band, like they would do silly heavy metal covers of popular Bollywood songs. They did a song from the Bombay Rockers. They did another song, I can't remember the name of the artist, but the song itself is called Tanuk Tanuk Tun, which older viewers may remember was a big viral hit in the 2000s. It was a bit of a meme, if you will. In 2017, Bloodywood caught the attention of major metal outlets like Loudwire and Metal Hammer after having re-recorded Linkin Park's Heavy in a style more similar to that of their debut, Hybrid Theory. They would go on to bring a lot of these covers together on an album called Anti-Pop Volume 1, released later that year. They would continue uploading metal covers on their YouTube page, many of which would become viral hits. They even contributed a song to Beyond Good and Evil 2, a video game from Ubisoft. And now, in 2022, they have an official studio album under their belt entitled Rakshak, or perhaps maybe Rakshak. I don't know. There might be some kind of accent to this. I don't know. I'm not Indian. I'm a dumb fucking white boy. The point is, Bloodywood, debut album. It's weird as fuck. It's here. Let's talk about it. Right off the bat, what's really interesting about Rakshak is how specifically it combines the worlds of traditional Indian, Asian, and Punjabi folk music with heavy metal, more specifically subgenres such as nu metal, groove metal, and rap metal. There's a lot of tribal percussion, a lot of bouncy rhythms, panpipes and flutes and string quartets and synthesizers. There are a lot of lyrics sung in Punjabi as well as English. There are a lot of hooks and melodies that do at times feel more befitting of like a Bollywood number or a more modern Indian pop song. Bloodywood has in the past cited influence from the likes of Limp Bizkit, Rage Against the Machine, the aforementioned Linkin Park, but I would say that the sound of this album is more similar to that of some late 90s Soulfly and Sepultura, mixed with a little bit of Hollywood Undead, and of course all of the aforementioned Indian folk and Punjabi folk influences and ideas that we have just spoken about. The result is an album that feels incredibly unique and is also brimming with spirit and rage and enthusiasm. Like, these guys are super pumped to be playing this music, and they're super pumped to share it with you. And that energy is somewhat infectious. Even in this album's worst moments, I'm still pretty pumped. I'm still curious to see what Bloodywood is going to do next. Opening track Gadar, for instance, is such a rambunctious and chaotic little fucking creation. It's this, like, groove metal, electronic core, nu metal rager with huge bouncy grooves, a super aggressive, almost Slipknot-style chorus, and a lot of thick, hearty, exciting industrial and electronic beats that feel more befitting of a band like Crossfaith, or maybe even like very, very, very early Asking Alexandria. Expanding on that Slipknot influence, tracks like Machi Basad and Dana Dan go straight for the fucking guttural with some of the most aggressive grooves and riffs and beatdowns on the entire record. Dana Dan in particular really does feel like something I could expect from Slipknot's self-titled debut, but, you know, with a Indian Bollywood flourish. There's a breakdown near the end of this that's pretty cool too, introducing some very heavenly, clean vocals and some synthesizers before then transitioning into a full-on rap metal electronic war rager for the last couple seconds. Bloodywood even managed something genuinely very anthemic and evocative through Genjirose. I mean, the skeletal structure of this song is pretty straightforward, you know? It's a 4-chord pop rock, pop metal number with a big, bold, anthemic chorus, but everything built on top of it is so fucking cool. I love the string work and the woodwinds here. That chorus is genuinely pretty powerful. This is definitely something that I think fans will be singing along to live when Bloodywood hits the road to promote this album on tour. In general, across the entirety of Rakshak, I just really love hearing a lot of the traditional Indian and Punjabi folk music influences, you know, the bhangra, the pan flutes, the tribal percussion, the Punjabi lyrics. That's all really cool and unique and exciting. I don't really think I've ever heard this in a heavy metal record, or at the very least, not to this extent in a heavy metal record. It's very cool. Where this album begins to lose me, however, is in how specifically rap metal is brought into the mix. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of those riffs, gnarly. Some of those beats, fantastic. And I think on a technical level, the rapping is actually pretty fucking fantastic. But the lyrics and the tone leave much to be desired. I mean, the lyrics are just so simple, so straightforward, so edgy and corny. It's a bunch of shit about believing in yourself and rebelling and staying strong and fighting the good fight. Fuck you, do what you want. Blah, blah, blah. It sounds like if Linkin Park and Limp Bizkit teamed up to do a line of motivational posters. It just does not work for me at all. The actual tone of the rapping itself doesn't always work either. I mean, sometimes the rapper Rakshak is just as aggressive as everyone else, but he really suffers on some of the softer cuts, like Genjirose, for instance. This is a track that, in general, tones down on a lot of the metal influences. It's not as heavy. It's not a bona fide rager in the way that so many of the cuts we've talked about are. It leans heavily on traditional Indian folk music with a big, bold, evocative chorus, more pan flutes, more bhangra percussion, and that's awesome. That part of this track is awesome. What isn't awesome is how he decides to rap on this track. Like, it's very soft-spoken, it's very dull. It almost makes it sound like he's doing this, like, as a joke. Like, there's just something about his tone that feels really, really off. Like, his rapping on this track reminds me of, like, somebody trying to do a Macklemore impersonation. Like, remember when Macklemore did that big song where he's like, yo, I'm straight, but I support gay rights because I'm a good guy, I'm a good person. We need to learn how to love. We need to learn how to love each other, y'all. It sounds like he's doing an impersonation of that. On top of all this, it's worth noting that at a certain point, the album just loses a little bit of its steam and luster and momentum. It still ends on a pretty strong note, but whereas the first half of this album is like a solid 4 out of 5, the second is closer to like an enthusiastic 3 out of 5. I guess with that in mind, a flat, middle-of-the-road 3.5 out of 5 is more than fair. I don't like doing math on the Metal Meltdown, but in these instances, I have to. In its best moments, Rakshak is hotter than a tandoori oven. One of the most unique albums I think I've heard in a long time, one of the weirdest and funkiest and spiciest things I've heard so far in 2022, with a few bona fide fucking bangers, lots of gnarly riffs and grooves, some great choruses. The production of this album is fucking top-notch as well. Like, everything is crystal clear and super heavy. And even in its worst moments, Rakshak is still very interesting. I wish the rap metal stuff was either toned down or in some cases just cut entirely. The rapping just is not doing enough for me. It's too inconsistent, but hey, overall, it doesn't derail the album too much. It's still very fun. It's still very colorful and exciting. It's still very intriguing. Like, everything about Bloodywood is so interesting that even when this album isn't putting out bona fide bangers, I still kind of want to see where it's going. I still kind of want to see what it's going to do next. So yeah, Rakshak, Bloodywood, it could definitely be more consistent, but all things considered, I don't think 3.5 out of 5 is all that much to be upset about. It's a good album. It's unique. It's weird. It doesn't sound like anything else you'll hear this week, so definitely check this out, even if just for that reason alone. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be, so what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right here so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.